mission statement. Above all else, we are committed to the creation of a safe and understanding environment for all students and staff while providing a world-class education. So at this time, we'll ask Ms. Rhea Jackson-Lee comes forward with our invocation and pledge of allegiance, or our invocation.
Yeah, that is.
Both.
She gonna do it all.
Gonna do it all.
Yes, yes.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this gathering. We thank you for everyone who's come out. We thank you for their safe arrival. Lord God, we pray that we're able to conduct the meeting so that we can take care of the business at hand and all the students in Columbia County School District. I pray that you continue to watch over us and keep us. And as we leave from this place today, that you cover us with your grace. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
If we stand for the pledge, the flag is against the wall over here. I'm sorry, you can't see it. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody, visitors. Tonight, I see a lot of administrators and visitors tonight. I'm glad you're here. I would like to invite anybody who would like to comment on an action item. We have 3 on our agenda to come forward at this time. We have approval of personnel items, a discussion about beginning negotiations about transfer of Building 7, and a work project at Columbia High School. Is there anybody who would like to comment on an action item at this time? If no one coming forward, we'll move on the agenda. Mr. Superintendent, is our agenda and our addendum, are they in order?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. With the agenda and the addendum being in order, do I have a motion to close and adopt the agenda? Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor of closing and adopting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. The agenda and addendum are adopted. We have a presentation from Ms. Logan
Yes.
to talk about our board policies.
Good evening, board members, and I'm happy to stand, but I guess for sound purposes, it might be better if I stay seated, so I will do that. Up tonight for your consideration as consent agenda 7F is advertisement of various policies, and just wanted to take a second to walk you through what these are and kind of break them down by category. So the first policies up for your consideration is a newly created Chapter 10 devoted to safe and secure schools. There has been some policy and administration changes within Tallahassee, including the Office of Safe Schools, that resulted in notification that Safe Schools is going to be coming in, the Office of Safe Schools in Tallahassee can stop into a district at any time and kind of check out their policies and procedures as it relates to safe schools. So with that, we kind of took a keen eye toward our various safe schools policies, which were found in all the chapters. We pulled them out and we created a new Chapter 10, which encompasses all of those policies, with the idea being they're together, they're in one place, they're easy to find and understand. You know, I will say Chapter 10 is obviously a lot of kind of basic information. As you know, security plans are exempt, and so all of that exempt and confidential information is contained within our procedures and plans that is not for public distribution. So the goal of these policies is obviously to kind of notify the board, parents, students, everyone that we do have these procedures in place, that we are following state statute, and that everything has been developed in accordance with the legislation governing safe schools, but again, not so detailed as to give away the items that are exempt from safety and security. So if we did not have a policy as to something, for example, Fortify Florida or metal detectors, we created that policy from scratch, and that's what you see within Chapter 10. And then the remainder of that is just updating existing policies and using the language that's consistent with our district, and again, specifying those to our district as well. So that is Chapter 10. The next policy for your consideration is actually a repeal of policy 6.95. That is an existing policy that deals with a retirement bonus. And this comes to you at the request of Human Resources. I think over the last couple years with offering retirement incentives, this policy, it hasn't been used a great deal, but it has kind of conflicted or a lot of times provided difficulty for offering those retirement incentives. It's complicated. It has to deal with years of service when you got into the system, your age and how many years of service. And so the thought was if we repealed this, it would give the district more flexibility to offer those retirement incentives, especially when not a lot of people are taking advantage of that retirement bonus anyway. So that is a request to repeal this policy, to get rid of it, and in its place, in essence, would not be a new policy, but just the ability to offer those incentives and kind of structure it as we see fit. And then finally, for your consideration is Chapter 2. As you know, consistent with our OPAGA audit and just kind of updating policies and procedures, we have been going chapter by chapter, just kind of updating these policies, again, putting them in line with what our district actually does versus, we get sample policies through NEFAC, which are close but may not have the specifics geared to our district. So the whole idea was just to align these with what we actually do, update them, make sure they're all current and reflective of what happens. So this is Chapter 2, and I think with putting this out for advertisement and hopefully getting this on the road to adopting these policies, we will only have, I believe, 3 or 4 chapters left to update until the entire manual will now be current. Any questions?
Maybe I'll get an opportunity to go through it.
Wonderful. Okay, with no questions, we'll move on. Thank you, Ms. Logan.
Wait just a minute here.
You'll
You're
have-
supposed to have public comments before.
You were going to advertise these, so you'll have a chance at the end of the
It
meeting.
says on here.
You will
public
have
comment.
a chance at the end to address the
The
board.
end.
At the end. So remain quiet. Thank you. We're moving on. We're moving on to action items. So, for our first action item is to approve our personnel items. We have items on the agenda and the addendum. Are those in order?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I'm going to approve those.
thank you.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor of approving the personnel items, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. The personnel items are approved. Now, our next action item is just to discuss and possible action to authorize the administration to begin negotiation with the county regarding the transfer of Building 7, which is identified as the Fort, which we talked about outside at Ford Elementary, to the county. So,
Madam Chair, may I
Yes.
address the board?
yes.
We're bringing this to you, obviously, there's been some press about what we're doing down here with the new wing. Obviously, the community's aware that we're having this building built in 1915 that we call the Fort, that we will be surplusing or trying to exit. The county and Mike Knowles here today represent, I don't know if you represent the county, I don't want to speak ahead, but you're here dressed up, so I assume he's representing the county. I just want y'all's permission to begin discussions with the county to transfer that building over to them. Obviously, we will bring any kind of thing we come up with negotiated back to you for a vote, but this is just to say, we just don't want to do it out of step. I don't want to talk at the water cooler about a building and a facility with the county, with the city, anybody, without having y'all's permission to begin negotiations and discussions. So it's just to get y'all's approval. If you think that's a good idea for us to start working with the county to transition that building over to the county. Our goal would be to transition the kids. If the kids move out of that building in May, we would like the county to take it over in June so it stays occupied the whole time. I think the more times, building built in 1915, the longer it sits vacant, the worse it's going to be. So that's our goal, and we're just simply asking tonight that y'all give us permission to start talking. That's all. Thank you.
Board members?
Madam Chair, I do not see a problem, so I make a motion that we start the discussion of the possibility of transfer to the county. Of the board.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Oh, I do, actually. And you said that whatever they want to do with it, you'll let us know?
No, yeah, we're not, yeah, it's going to be a negotiation. So if there's something that we think we might need from the county, we might say, y'all give us, if we give y'all that building, can y'all give us X?
That's-
But that will be something negotiated, and brought back to a public meeting at a later
So
date.
there'll be a presentation to us
Oh, absolutely.
later. Okay.
Then I'm fine with that.
Any other discussion?
Just a few $1 million is all, Mr. Miller.
You talking about giving up?
Oh, I see you back there. I'm sorry, I misspoke. We have a commissioner with us tonight, so I'm sorry if I saw you,
It's
I'd
going to be great.
tossed him to the curb.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I just speak?
Yes. We're on, can he be heard? Okay, because it's being broadcast.
So my name's Mike Newell. I'm the county purchasing officer for Columbia County. So I'm not here necessarily on a specific request, but in years past, it's been very common for the county, the city, and the school district to swap properties when there's a need or a situation that occurs that makes more sense for the inventory to ship. And so we recognize that the school district's involved in a construction project here. We also recognize there's a historic building there of value. Now, the county's not looking for property right now. We're not looking even for office space. But we want to be able to partner to come up with a plan, what's best for that building to continue to be utilized in the south end of Columbia County. So we want to partner with you in that process, and that's why we're here tonight. And I have my board chairman, Mr. Rocky Ford, if he wants to add to that.
I'm good with it. I think they're doing exactly what we asked them to do. Basically, just let's start some negotiations with it.
But I do know, Mr. Hudson, it's not with a checkbook.
Thank you, Mr. Knoll.
Never is.
After that, is any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor of starting those negotiations, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Okay, that is approved. We'll move on to our third action item, which is to approve the scope of work and project parameters proposed by KL Partners and CHW Professional Consultants for track improvements at Columbia High School per the attachment. The final design and costs are to be presented at a later board meeting. Mr. Gaylord, would you like to talk to us about that?
It's a pleasure if you'll allow me to speak briefly. This is a project that's been in the works for some 3 years. Coach Davis at Columbia High has been very energetic in trying to put together a design that will enable his program to self-fund future activities. And his desire is to actually accomplish an enhancement with the track where he'll be able to host AAU meets there. And this is a step towards doing that. The plan is, following board approval, that we'll meet with Coach Davis and the design professional and move forward with the design. If you look at the fee structure in the proposal, the bulk of the fee structure is actually the civil design. Included with it also is a survey. Some may question that, the need for a survey, but you have to understand that track was actually constructed around the year 1994. So there's been a lot of settlement. There's been some changes with some of the fencing and other structures. So that's the need for the survey. And then the geotech report is basically where they'll come in and take cores of the soils as well as the asphalt to determine what portion of it we can mill and resurface to provide for the rubberization of the track. But it's a straightforward project that'll be somewhat of a challenge. There's some inherent stormwater issues with the field that we've dealt with for many years, and so we hope to resolve or mitigate that as well with the project. You can see that the core responsibility is actually going to be CHW. They're a civil firm that's worked with us before. They helped do the civil design when we did the construction of the cafeteria at Columbia High School that coincidentally Todd Gray's company actually built several years ago. So we look forward to the project, and we're hopeful that the board would approve it. It's a pleasure. It'll be project number 2 that's part of our half-cent sales tax. So we look forward to getting involved with it. Any questions you may have?
I had some, but it was all cleared up for me, and I appreciate you doing that.
Any other questions for me?
Madam Chair, may I
Yes.
address the board?
Sure.
I just want to reiterate what he said about the track and the coaching, his enthusiasm. And they released their spring schedule, and I think they've got 14 meets, and all 14 of them are on the road. And I want to say this while our two county officials here, because they know they don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm sure they would agree with it. When we put a state-of-the-art track, and it's going to be AAU specific plus FHSAA specific, we're going to be able to host regional track meets, state track meets, all kind of track meets. And our plan is in a few years to do the same thing down here at Fort White and have 2 state-of-the-art tracks, because we believe we will bring millions of dollars into the county by hosting track meets. That's the part I want y'all to hear. And so we just think it's a win-win-win for the community. It's a great day for the half-cent sales tax, because this is really the first standalone project that we're rolling out with it. I also want to let everyone know that we are going to resurface Richardson's 6th grade as part of a track. But it's going to be asphalt. It's going to be more of just a jogging track, but it's in bad shape right now. And then we're also going to put a jogging trail at Lake City Middle School, because they have nothing. And so we're going to try to enhance all of our secondary schools through this process. And we want track to take off and be a very, very, very. We've got a great coach. We just need it to be great at Columbia High and at Fort White High School. So we're excited about the future for track at both high schools.
I do have one more question, if you don't mind. And I don't want to sound pushy or impatient or anything, but do you have any sort of timeline on how long this survey is going to take?
Not
Okay.
exactly.
We know we've got to have the track completed by football season. in
That's what
August.
I'm saying. So, I mean,
that's the
we're
timeline.
really pushing this, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's-
Anything else?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve action item letter C.
Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second. We've already, any other questions or discussion? All right, with no further discussion, all in favor of approving the scope of work with that project, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. That item is approved. Moving on to the consent agenda. I believe that there is a couple of items on your addendum, board members, items 7A and 7I. So take note of that. Are there any corrections or additions to the consent agenda, Mr.
No, ma'am,
Superintendent?
just 7A and 7I.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the consent, approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the items on the consent agenda? With no discussion, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. The consent agenda is approved. We're moving on to comments. Is there a member of the audience, a citizen, who would like to address the board? Mr. Borders? Mr. Borders, I will remind you that you can address the board for 3 minutes.
Thought it was 5, but
It's
whatever.
3.
I'll have my dog talking next to you.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
Okay.
Well, first thing on here, number 3, welcome visitors and invitation for public comments. Well, I was a little late, but it's your fault, because I called the office and they said we were meeting at the elementary auditorium. Nothing about the cafeteria. But my main thing, and I don't even see none of them to stand up here, they won't return their calls. And I had 2 board members want to know. My county commissioner, one of the county commissioners, 2 of them I've talked to. I've been put on probation for 3 years. And 2 school board members want to know if I killed somebody, beat them up, tried to burn up the place, or what. Now, they think that's a little rash. Now, one thing about it, you can get your husband or whoever you want to. I've already been told by 2 school board members, when they build that auditorium, when they cut that ribbon, I can be there. I can be there. I want to know why I'm on probation for not 1 year, 3 months, 6 months, or whatever, why I'm on probation for 3 years. Can you answer the question?
This is a public comment, it's not a questioning time. Do you have any other further comments?
Yeah. There's one person up there in Tallahassee that's fighting for the teachers. One person. You hear what I said? One person? That's Keith Hudson. And truly, Mr. Caldwell, you have done a good job. You're a fine man and all. I don't blame him. I wouldn't be running for the office again either. So that's another thing. And we put thousands of $1,000s into Fort White schools. And they're telling us that we, on private property, we can't put up a sign thanking our girls for winning the state softball. Let me tell you one thing. It's not on your property or nobody else's up there. But we can put anything up we want to on private property. Is that correct, Mr. Commissioner? On private property, if it's not profanity and all
I'm a
that?
lawyer, sir, I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you.
Are they gonna answer questions or I'm gonna just talk?
Mr. Borders, this is a public comment time. You can comment, it's not an interrogation. So are you done? Because you have 10 seconds left.
Well, I wanna know what what's
This is a
gonna happen.
comment time, it's not a questioning. Are you done?
Well, when did we do the question?
You don't. This is a comment time.
I've always
Okay,
asked
you have 3
questions
minutes,
before.
you're done. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience who has any public comments? Mr. Ford, thank you.
Thing I just like to say,
Where's our other law?
I did bring it up with our board member about us trying to get together and create a redistricting committee. I would like to do that sometime this year, if
Okay.
y'all, maybe y'all's attorney could get with Joel or something, and,
Ms. Logan's going to comment on that.
okay.
Thank you. I think that is on our agenda for next meeting, that we intend to have a board discussion about that. But yes, I have spoken with Joel, and I think we're on the same page as far as doing it. It's just a matter of timing, I think. And so that should be brought to you guys next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Is there any other member of the audience who would like to address the board at this time? Okay, move on to school board members. Ms. Smith.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. I am just excited for you, Ms. Jackson Lee, and the entire Fort White Elementary School family to see what's transpiring out here. I know you all are excited, and I'm just looking forward to the finished product. And with the people we have in charge, I know it's going to be fine. So you all are going to do a great job. And to everyone in Fort White, we thank you so much for your hospitality and your kindness when we come here. But I do have one question, Ms. Chair. Yeah, I know, I'm scared. Come on. I wanted to ask. If you didn't say anything, Keith, I would have wondered what's going on. Mr. Coswell, I don't want to bring up some things that might be a little uncomfortable, but I had a concern about the procedure that they said that was put in place after the incident. I think that was on Thursday. They said it was a change that was taking place so that that would not happen again. Could you address that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The procedure that was in place were that kids could check the fake rifle out, take it home. They've implemented a new program at Columbia High a couple of years ago where the ROTC drill team actually does the spinning of the rifles and the throwing of the rifles.
Right.
It's not like it used to be where they had 2x4s that were painted like a rifle. And so they had a procedure in place that every child was aware of, verbally, of how to bring it back to school. And so it wasn't followed to the T that day. But the bottom line is we're not, the new policy, new procedures, those rifles won't go home. There's other things they can practice with, the spin, look like, and it's like football. We don't take shoulder pads home to practice, and we don't. I mean, it's unfortunate that we live in a world where we can't take those things home. But when you saw that picture that the sheriff's office put out on Facebook,
Right.
that I'd already knew about it for about 45 minutes, and it still scared me when I saw that picture.
Right.
And so the new policy and the new plan, it's not really a plan. We're just not letting those things go home anymore.
Okay.
And so that's the new thing.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you clearing that up.
Thank you.
Thank
Anything
you.
else, Ms. Smith?
No, that's it.
Mr. Hudson?
Comments, just no questions.
You can ask questions.
It's a good day in Fort White, especially beginning of a new construction project, taking off with our new Madison tax dollars. And it's good to have two representatives here from the county. We appreciate you coming out on your own time and being here with us. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all having a meeting in Fort White.
Mr. Carter, I'll just go start on the end. Is that
Okay.
okay, Mr. Stewart? Second, Mr. Carter?
Yes, fine. When we had the groundbreaking, I failed to mention 3 people that are invaluable for our district, and they were there. I want to thank Todd and Hope for what they do. They were out there, and they should have been mentioned, and also Fred Gaylord, goes without speaking that everything we do in construction, he's there. He's just a great influence. I also want to thank our school board attorney for what she does every day, but primarily what she's done on these board policies. I've been at Brown since 2007, dealing with board policies, and if you've seen the book, it's, it's thick. And so, just want to thank her, and want to thank Rachel, because they are going through those policies word by word, and trying to bring them into the year 2023. And on the chapter 10, we mentioned that to the principals this morning, and I think they were pretty excited about having all the state schools policies rolled up into chapter 10. And I don't know whose idea that was. It was not mine. It was either Megan's, Rachel's, or Judy's. But I want to thank Judy and all what they've done to get those policies into one spot, because, you can't go all over the book that thick and try to find every policy. But now, thanks to what y'all have done tonight, and hopefully in 30 days we'll get them ratified, it's going to be a better day for us policy-wise. And then lastly, I'd just like to echo what I think Mr. Hudson said. It's a great day at Fort White, but it's also a great day in our community. When we start doing stuff like what we're doing here, and the tracks and stuff, it's just, you're going to see a positive outlook here at Fort White Elementary School, and you're also going to see a positive outlook at Columbia High when that track gets finished, and on down the road, just all the projects that's coming up. And I want to remind the board that we do have an engineer survey in all of our schools, so there will be a list coming out probably later on this spring, early summer, that kind of details the plan that we need to implement for our half-cent sales tax, not the buildings, not the new schools, but the old schools renovating or remodeling. So that's a good day. So we just appreciate everybody. Appreciate Sarita Jackson for hosting us. And I see the Norris is back there, so thank y'all for being here as well.
Mr. Keeler?
Yeah, thanks Fort White Elementary and Ms. Jackson Lee for having us down here today. It's always nice to go to every part of the county. I want to also kind of echo what Mr. Carswell just said about the auditorium, and then I look forward to seeing what the other plans are for the half cents when we get those coming out. Thank you, Mr. Gaylord, for clearing up some questions I had for the track at Columbia High. And I don't know, I'm just going to thank Mr. Carswell, Rachel, and Ms. Logan for that policy. I know there was the last meeting, I had some wording problem with one of the policies. I appreciate y'all correcting that and getting that fixed up for me a little bit. But as always, it's an honor to serve.
Ms. Hill?
Thank you to Ms. Jackson Lee again. We appreciate the cookies and your warm hospitality. It's always great to come to Fort White Elementary School. And a big thank you to Mr. Ford and Mr. Knoll for being here tonight and helping us in the negotiations on the Ford. Look forward to seeing future plans. And thank you to Mr. Gaylord for clarification on the track. Look forward, I'm excited about the possibilities there, about having home track meets. I think that's going to be a great thing for our district. And adding the 9th lane, I think is going to be very beneficial as well. Thank you, Ms. Logan, for your presentation. That was extensive reading this week, but it was very clear. So thank you for your hard work there. Excited to be a part of the groundbreaking today. Looking forward to all the great improvements that we're making in our district. And last, I'd just like to say thank you to Mr. Carswell for your timely updates. I know it was a few stressful days, a couple of things that happened, but I appreciate the timely updates. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome everybody to Fort White. Thank y'all for being here. I love Fort White. I'm 4th generation on both sides of my family from this community, so I love it here, and I love to see the things that are happening in Fort White. I was a little bit sad to see the tear down. I went to art and music in that building from kindergarten all the way through the 8th grade. But if nothing ever changes, nothing ever changes. So changes are good, and, I have to embrace it. So Mr. Whittaker brought me a brick from that building, so I'm going to keep that, and I do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for thinking of me and remembering how special this school is to me.
Does Andy know you have a brick?
Andy knows Andy, that's my Valentine's Day. It's the brick. Miss Sarita Jackson Lee, thank you. And you have, I think everybody has forgotten, you have a fabulous assistant principal in Mr. Ed Carter. So thank you both. Ed loves me. We go way back, long before we were both, we go back from childhood. So thank you both for hosting. And Fort White always has great cookies, and I don't know if that's you or Miss Bruce who heads up the food here, but thank you. I'm going to take the cover off so y'all can get a cookie when we're done. The fort, I do hope that we're able to keep that in use to serve the community of Fort White. My grandparents graduated from that high school back a long, long time ago, and my father did. So I would certainly want to make sure that it is still serving the community in some way. I'd hate to see it go into just, not being used anymore, because I certainly love that building. So, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for coming down to Fort White. We do have 2 meetings a year here in Fort White, so, but I love it, and I'm glad to see all the good things that are happening here. I think there's something next week, Safe Schools? Workshop next week, so I will not be able to be there. I'm going to be in Jacksonville. I know y'all are going to make sure and think great things happen without me there, but
It's not a workshop, it's an executive session.
So, but
We'll be
anyway,
open to the public.
I won't be there. I'm going to be at a training in Jacksonville. But with that said, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Come get a cookie. I'm going to uncover it.